Okay, so outside of two identical twins not looking identical to me for some reason, and some witches doing a weird chant that probably should have been dubbed in an ancient language so it sounded cooler, outside of that, episode 3 of The Acolyte was the largest and most expansive addition to Star Wars lore and live action since the prequels. And I challenge anybody to debate me on the fact that the things in this episode seamlessly, effortlessly, and naturally fit into the already established canon and don't contradict anything that we've seen elsewhere in Star Wars. But let's go through the episode real quick. So the entire episode is a flashback, and we go back to Brendok when the girls were young, still together, and it's when the Jedi show up. And the Jedi show up coincidentally right on the eve of this very important ritual that they're supposed to do in order to be initiated fully as witches of this coven. We find out that the twins are the only children in this community and that they were not conceived in a natural way. They were created by the leader of the coven in some vague and unspecified way. The implication is that she used the Force to conceive these children. And using the Force to create a fetus and implant it into a woman to bear the term is something, yes, we've seen in Star Wars before. And while some people see a contradiction to the canon, this is an addition to the canon. This is filling in a blank that was already there. Because nowhere in the Star Wars canon, especially nowhere in the movies, is there any indication or any explicit mention that Anakin being conceived of the Force is the first or only time that it's happened. When Shmi tells Qui-Gon that there was no father, Qui-Gon's attention is piqued, but at no point when she tells him in his reaction or when he relays this to the Jedi Council and he speaks of a virgins in the Force, it's not ever explicitly said that this is the first time that this has happened or that this is an unheard of thing. It is a rare thing, and it is something that is in line with the prophecy of the one who will bring balance. But there's nothing explicit or implied that this is the only time or the first time that this has happened. It's only specified that this is special and noteworthy because it falls in line with the prophecy. And of course, then of course in episode 3, when Sidious is talking to Anakin and explaining and telling the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, he says that Darth Plagueis attained the ability to create life through the Force. Now, it does not say. He doesn't say specifically whether he developed this ability on his own or he learned it from somewhere. We don't know. But if he learned it from somewhere, if this was knowledge he seeked out, it had to come from somewhere. And 100 years ago, there was these witches who knew how to do it. And I'm somebody who loves Star Wars lore. I love the expansion of the mythos. I love how everything is connected. I love the mythical and mysticism of Star Wars. This is my bag. This isn't going to be for everyone. That's why we have other shows like Andor that is very non-mystical, is very non-lore expansive. It's very grounded as far as a Star Wars story can be, and it's very straightforward. But all of this in the episode is kind of the B plot, honestly, because the main plot of this episode and of this story is how the Jedi and the Coven of Witches are at odds over the twins. Osha wants to go with them, May doesn't, and that creates a schism between the twins, and it manifests itself and it develops into May locking Osha into her room. And the implication, or what they want us to think happened, is that May dropped the lantern and set the fire and started that entire fire that burned down everybody and killed a bunch of space witches with smoke inhalation. Of course, that's not what happened. Because what's not on screen and what you don't see is just as important to the story as what you do see. So we never actually see May drop the candle. We never see her start the fire, and we never see the witches die. All we get is one scared little girl's point of view of what happened. Because this show, remember, it's called The Acolyte. So it's from a dark side point of view, it's supposed to paint the Jedi not in a favorable light. And so what I think will happen, instead of making the Jedi straight up villains, this will be all a misunderstanding. This will be some manipulation from a Phantom Menace that will, paint the Jedi in a negative light from a certain point of view. So as we get deeper in the story, we'll actually understand the point of view of Mai. We'll understand the antagonizing emotions towards the Jedi, but because we're the viewer and we'll see all the different elements, we'll know how the situation was manipulated and how no one is blameless in this situation. But I don't think the Jedi will be turned out to be all evil and they just straight up cold-blooded murdered these witches. But I think something will happen where it manipulated the perception on both sides to make everybody think everybody's the enemy and all hell broke loose. But what did you think of this episode, and what did you think of all the things that were introduced as far as the lore is? And who's going to take me up on this challenge and debate me on whether or not this fit in the canon or was a contradiction of the canon? Let's go. I'm here for debate. I'm here for discussion. That's the best part about being fans, is we get to talk and debate about the things that we love. So let's get into it. And I'll catch you guys next time.